Wait, are we actually live? I don't even know what's going on with this right now. I got another notification when I went to go live saying live streaming's not available, so I refreshed it, which is usually the fix, and then I can go live and it's already running, I guess? I don't know. Glad I didn't do or say anything weird or swear or something. No, I guess the boys are being good. There's nothing to have said weird things to. Well, by good, I mean they're asleep. Let's see. Hi, Gail. Okay, so today we are working in colored pencil. I am working on Canson Mi-Teintes, and all the supplies I'm using should be listed in the video description. If I did my job right, probably didn't. This is Canson Mi-Teintes. I'm working on the smooth side of this black paper. You can work on whatever you'd like. In this case, working on some sort of colored paper is going to make your life a lot easier. Because, I mean, what we're going to do is super simple, but you would need any sort of tone paper you could use, even a pale blue, a gray, I mean, anything would work, except white. White, you're going to have to, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for you. Okay, thanks, Joseph. Hi, Irritated Paintbrush. I love your username. That one, and there was another one that used to crack me up. I can't remember it right now, but it always made me laugh. So for this one, the reference photo you can find over at patreon.com/Lachri. You do not need to be a member to get it, but it's just free for everybody. It's a photo that I got from Pixabay, but the photo was like your normal with a green background. We're not working on a green background, so I thought to simplify it for us, I photoshopped the heck out of it and made the background completely black, and then I also adjusted the underside. So if you look at our reference photo, it's a circle all the way around. In the reference photo, there was a weird clump that was very distracting, I thought, so I did some Photoshop for it, but that's where this reference photo comes from. You are welcome to sell or make prints or do anything you like with the artwork you create out of this one. Hi, Austin's Art. Oh, boys, someone said hi to you too. They're uninterested. Not an ear twitch, nothing. Gypsy Heart said, will you do a beginner pigment marker piece soon? I need to. I definitely need to. That's such a fun medium to work in. Okay, so let's see. Art of Cayenne. I already butchered your name. I'm sorry. How do you get accurate sketches each time? So you've got a few options. That's a great question. A few options for getting your initial sketch out. In this case, we're going with, and I'll show you how we're going to get that super simple circle. This one does not need to be accurate. Close is good enough. So I'm not going to worry about trying to draw things really detailed or anything like that. Let's say we're doing a portrait where accuracy is a big deal. In that case, what I would do is either transfer paper, or draw it on another piece of paper. If I would rather freehand, I will draw it on another piece of paper and then trace it and use transfer paper to transfer it onto the paper, or use a projector to transfer it. Even if I freehanded it, I'm still going to use those methods, because what happens if you freehand on the artwork or the paper that you're going to actually draw or even paint, you get so many sketch lines and eraser lines, and it's a mess. It just ends up being a hot mess. So I always draw it on a scratch piece of paper before I transfer that onto the canvas or paper, whatever you're working on. The methods that I'll use are projector, tracing and transfer paper. Sometimes I trace, sometimes I project, sometimes I freehand it and then trace or project. Either way, it completely depends on what mood I'm in, if I'm in the mood to draw and freehand stuff. For me, I can draw just as accurately as I can trace. Like, there's no difference other than saving time. For somebody who is learning and trying to improve their drawing skills, tracing is not an instant win button, because if you can't draw on your own, it shows in the end work even if you trace. But it will teach you to draw things more accurately. So a lot of people are like, I don't want to trace, but you'll learn to draw. The goal is not to forever have to trace. The goal is to get to that point where you can freehand it and have it be accurate. And tracing is one of those ways. It forces your brain to see things as they are and not what it thinks it is. Someone shared a post. I actually should just make my own that's similar. It was so funny. It shows them trying to draw a hand. This is what I'm trying to draw. This is what my brain says. And it looks like the little turkey, where you outline your fingers. And that's so true. That is what happens with artists. Our brain, we recognize the object, but trying to recreate it accurately on the paper, we have to teach our brain to see what's really there and not what it thinks is there. And that's, one of the things that tracing can help. So, and just throwing this out there before we start, we are going to be chatting about art a lot as we work. So if you're looking for straight out tutorials, just straight, teach me how to do it. I don't want to hear about your lifestyle or your dogs or whatever. Lifestyle? That wasn't the word I was looking for. There's another word. My personal, I don't know, basically my yard. though you would be more interested in Patreon, patreon.com/Lachri for as little as $4 a month. You will get access to all of my weekly 1 to 2, sometimes 3. I think this week was almost 3 hours long, lessons in various mediums. So that's going to be a better fit for you. For these live streams, we chat, we hang out, we talk while we work. It's a completely different feel. So just before you leave me negative comments on how I talk too much, that's what these videos are. Speaking of plants, my friend keeps messaging me about plants. So anyway, did I add the peanut? Huh? Wait, what? Did I add the peanut? Oh, I don't know what that is. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing part of that conversation. I mean, obviously I am. Let's see. I just bought my Polychromos and coloring fruit bowl with them. Nice. Janet said, hi, Lisa. I love your art lessons. You're such a great teacher. Thank you. Art and Diamonds with Esky said, I'm just hanging out and listening while I work on my giant tigress drawing. Nice. I love drawing tigers. Gypsy Heart said, I missed where to request things, but I would like a video on how you mount your finished color pencil watercolor pieces. I don't mount them, actually. If I buy a pre-mounted board, I don't mount my own. It's work I don't enjoy doing. I know how. I'm not going to. I don't like to do it. So what I do, I just put them on the back. I use a acid-free tape and tape it to the mount and throw it in a frame. I'm simple. Annette Art said, it's 2 a.m. here. Can't sleep due to anxiety. Oh, I'm sorry. That is a horrible feeling. Oh, man. That is, because you can't get away from it. That's just, I'm sorry. Said, you're my therapy. Thanks for everything. Oh, I hope you feel better. Heather said, in the middle, it looks like a peanut. What? I don't know what. Oh, it does. I know what you're talking about now. Our reference photo. It really does. Okay, let's see. Might join the Patreon as the koala lesson, etc. is at 2 a.m. for me. Well, the good thing about the koala lesson, though, yes, please join Patreon. But the koala one, you can watch anytime that's convenient for you. So you can go back and watch later and still get caught up with us. I'm still trying to decide if we should, with that fur. I've had too many people that wanted to see the fur all the way through, but I've also had probably just as many who didn't. So I still haven't decided how we're separating that one. Let's see. Just as a reminder, make sure if you have any questions or comments for me, do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight in orange, I just don't see the comment. I apologize, but you'll end up getting ignored. Not intentionally. So, coffee, yay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take one of my Polychromos, and let's see, we'll just go with a gray, a light gray or white, gray probably, just something a little bit more muted. The reason that I'm going with, I don't have any of my sharpeners out. Hold on 1 second. I am not prepared. No one's surprised. Got cables on the ground. What did you just come off of? Hold on, I'm breaking stuff over here. Okay, I should have sharpeners over in my little colored pencil cart, which also has paint. Let's see if this one will work. I think this one is this one is a Faber-Castell sharpener. And I'm just gonna use a mason jar to put my shavings in. How many of you guys, when sharpening your pencils, use little cups like that and end up knocking it over and then end up with shavings all over the floor? I hope it's not just me because I do it a lot. Okay, so this one that I'm using here, this is just white. You can use white, you can use light gray, whatever works for you. Let's see. Louise said, what do you use to sketch on black toned paper? I don't actually just sketch, like do the sketch on that. What I'm going to do here is, why is someone calling? No, that's spam. What I'm going to do here is use a white pencil just to sketch there. White, I'm using Polychromos because it's not super opaque. And we're going to do, where did my cut go? There we go. So for the circle of this guy, he's pretty circular. You can freehand that if you want. I'm just going to use the bottom of, it's actually a Faber-Castell, their little water cup. By the way, if you've not seen these are really cool. They sent this to me. It collapses. So like if you're going to go out and paint with water-soluble graphite or watercolor and you don't want, a big cup. I love this thing. I'm so easily amused. So I'm just going to figure out where I want him positioned. I'm going to go here and I'm going to put dots. I am not making a big circle because if you go and do a circle around it, you are never getting rid of that line. You will always see it through your work. So what I'm doing here is just a few little dots to keep track of where things are gonna go. There we go. Let me make sure that's showing up for you. I might have to edit, well, I know I'll have to adjust. Yeah, you guys can see that. I'll have to adjust the lighting, I'm sure, a couple of times. I usually do. Let's see. I am blurry. I'm sorry. I mean, it looks fine to... Sorry. Let's see. Gypsy said, have you noticed a difference working on the Canson pads versus the individual sheets? I've not used the pads yet. I bought some, but I haven't used them yet. So that I can't say yet. Stacy's the friend who keeps texting me about plants and I think a cat. I'm sorry for all those texts. Oh my gosh. I'll read them later. Jason said, Lisa, we would be surprised if you were prepared. I drop shavings all the time. Okay, that makes me feel better. Let's see. Karma said, I have watched your other videos, but this is my first live video I have joined. Love your work and you're great at keeping my interest. Thanks for not being boring. Well, thanks for joining. I'm glad you like my randomness. JBC13 Art said, funny you say that because I just spilled my cup of pencil shavings in my bed. Oh my God. Okay, I've not managed that one yet, but oh, that sucks. Probably just because I haven't drawn my bed, but I'm sure I would. That sucks. I always have shavings on the floor because I never end up getting them all swept up. Like they're just always little bits that I missed. Okay. Yeah, it drives me crazy. Rebecca said, I've been working on some charcoal drawings lately. Can't find any charcoal fixatives online. Do you think I would be able to use pastel fixative to seal my drawing? Pastel fixative is what I'm using. I'm using Spectrafix for mine, and that works fine. Okay, so now when I get to the stem here, I am going to switch to kind of a muted green. I'm gonna go with a dark green. This one is chrome oxide green. Now right now I'm using my Polychromos. I may switch and use some, if I want my more opaque colors, switch to either my Caran d'Ache Luminance, my Derwent Drawing, or the Derwent Lightfast will be a little bit more opaque than the Polychromos. It's just a difference in the pencil. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just depends on what you're using them for. So I'm gonna make my little stem. Oh, I can't see that at all. That's useless. Let's grab a lighter color. This one's probably too light. No, it works. However you want that guy to go. Okay, now I'm gonna use the same white to put in my little peanut, apparently, which I didn't even notice until you pointed that out, so thank you. I'm never gonna unsee that. I'm just, see how I'm almost dotting it. I'm not sitting there. What you don't wanna do is put this big heavy line. You're not gonna get rid of it. If you do it wrong, it's not going away. So it's better if I can do these lighter areas, and I'm gonna switch over to a brownish tone, like a gold tone. This one will work. This is Raw Umber. And we're going to, actually, I may even raise him a bit. I think my little peanut can go up higher. It's not a big deal. It just depends on which angle you're looking at it. So it doesn't matter if it's perfect. And we've got our little seeds. So let's go ahead and put a few of those seed pods in there. Again, they don't have to be perfect. I'm not going to sit here and count this many seeds going this direction, this many going that direction. Go for close. This is a very simple project. Like, you can't really mess this up. And that is when everyone takes it as a challenge. I used to say that when I taught at one of those places where you drink wine, or, well, I didn't drink wine, but they drink wine while they painted while I taught them. And I would always tell people, don't be afraid of your work. There's nothing you can do I can't fix. The look, you would always know which ones took that as a challenge. The look on their faces of, I bet I can. But I was always able to fix everything. I mean, you can fix anything that goes wrong, unless you put a hole through the canvas. That's not such an easy fix. So that gives me a general idea of where I want that guy. Is it exact? No. Do I care? Also no. So what I'm going to start with on him, I'm going to do this a little bit different than normal. Usually we've got these blurry areas on the dandelion. I would normally start with those blurry areas first, but I think it might be easier. Let's just start with our peanut and the seeds. Let's see. Kelsey said, I actually made it to another live. That makes me happy. Me too. Welcome. Austin's Art said, how do you properly store charcoal paintings? I hate how they get everywhere and I don't want the mess all over my other paintings. How do you properly store them? So for me, I have these big boxes. They're archival boxes. It's similar to what scrapbookers would use. It's like acid-free, pH neutral. I got them want to say I either got them from Jerry's or Dick Blick, I forget where, but they're just a big black box and the lid opens up, it's kind of flat, and I put a piece of glassine in between each one, and then the next artwork on that, another piece of glassine, next artwork on that, and that's worked really well for me. But I do spray them with, in this case I'm using Spectra Fix right now, and that helps. It's always going to smudge, but it does help a bit. I spray them first though. Kenny said, you said have you used continuous fine mist sprayer? If yes, what do you think? I have them here. I have not used them yet. I will be making a video about it once I do though. I don't have super high hopes for them. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as an airbrush, but I could be wrong. I'll let you know. I like being proved wrong, so that'll be fun. Minal, I am butchering your name. I apologize. Said, have you tried, where were we? That just scrolled. Have you tried frottage techniques like Maxed Earnest? I've not heard of any of those things. Angie said, challenge accepted. See, somebody always. Hello Shiny said, I used to sketch on the train. One day my sister had to catch a train, and where she sat, she found a big pile of my colored pencil shavings down the side of the seat. That is funny. Did she knew they were yours, or did she tell you she found someone's random pencils and you're like, oh yeah, that's mine? Okay. I'm not going to fill this in with white. I'm actually going to switch to a cream color. And my airbrush hose is stuck in my foot. You care. Let's see. Do I not have one? Yeah, I do. Here we go. So this one is just cream, I believe. Oh, sorry, ivory in the Polychromos. Going to go ahead and sharpen that guy. Now, I've used a couple things I do want to point out. I have used regular masking tape on this. I do not recommend that. That is not pH neutral or acid free, and it can leave bits of the glue, the adhesive can stay on your paper even once it's removed, and so that concerns me. Now, in my case, I'm just going to cut that off. I don't care. And I don't know if I'd even ever sell it, but if I do, I would cut this area off just to make sure everything is good there. What I recommend is getting a masking tape. There's a black one that I really like that's pH neutral and acid free. Just type in black or pH neutral or acid free tape. I've gotten it on Amazon, and I've gotten it, I think, from Dick Blick or Jerry's. I'm not sure which, but look at those for tape. This is not what I would recommend. I'm just going through, I'm mostly out of my tape right now, so I'm saving it for bigger projects. The other thing I want to point out, when you remove the tape, and you want to remove it as soon as possible, do not leave the tape on there for months and months on end. It will make it harder to come off. If it gets to where it's like starting to rip the paper, you can take a hairdryer, heat it a little bit, and that can loosen the adhesive. The other thing is never ever pull towards the artwork like I'm doing here. Don't do this. This is not how you do it. You always want to pull the tape away from the artwork. If you pull in, you're more likely to get a tear that tears into the... Is not good. Don't do it. Pull away from the artwork whenever, whether you've heated it, even if it's coming off easily, always pull away from the artwork. So, quick tip there. Let's see. Hello Shiny said, no, she knew they were my pencil shavings. She sent me a photo of them. I'm like, yeah, that's my Polychromos. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill in our weird shaped center here. I'm gonna have to get out my odorless mineral spirits. Oh wait, no, they're behind me. I do have them. So I'm just going over lightly. I don't want to push really hard on this. Going up back the other direction so I get as much pigment in there as possible. And for doing a little bit of the shading, I'm going to take that raw umber. I'll just throw a little bit in here around the bottom. And I'm going to pull another shadow. I'll use purple for that. Oh, sorry, Delft blue, whatever, it's purple. I'm gonna throw that right along that shadowed edge, and we'll come back through with black too on some of this for darkening it up, but we're gonna start there. I'm going to hopefully figure out where I put my OMS. Where is, like, it's always right here. How is it not right here? What did I do with it? That's weird. I have lost my OMS. Huh. Hold on one second. Oh, nope. Saw it as I walked away. It's sideways, which might mean it's empty. No, it's still in there. That was not where that was supposed to be. Okay, so I'm going to use some odorless mineral spirits. If you don't have odorless mineral spirits or you don't want to use it, just keep layering until it smooths out where you want it to be. Let's grab a small, oh, that's really small. I don't know where all of my brushes are. Again, with them not being prepared. I'm talking with the microphone behind me. Huh, where did my other brush? I guess, well, you're gonna work for today. This one is just a tack on bristle filbert by Royal Langnickel, whatever. Where are all of my paint? Huh, I don't know where everything is. So I've got a little bit of OMS. I'm just gonna go in circles there. We're gonna smooth that out. Now it's gonna look really dark while it's wet, but when it dries, it'll come back to being more opaque. And if it's a little blotchy, great. That just gave me detail without me having to put the work into making detail. I'm good with that here. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a portrait, you probably would be a bit more careful, but here, that's great. Okay. Yeah, it does. Hello, Shiny said it looks like you're drawing fireworks again. It totally does. It's a very similar technique, and that's where I got the idea for this. I'm like, let's go a little bit more advanced on those same techniques. It's very similar. Jason said, Lisa, I figured out why you lose track of things. I watched the suggested film, and you had less distraction in the background, but that's what makes it interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm distracted and forget everything. My brain, like, and the way that the timing on these videos goes, that's a lot of it too. So by the time I read your question, it's probably 5, 10 minutes, 20, 30 minutes later, and I don't remember what we were talking about back then, like what it was in reference to. Okay, I'm gonna go with a darker brown. You don't have to be using the same pencils I am. Use whatever you've got. I mean, I'm using a fairly translucent pencil, and if it works for me on black paper, any pencil should be okay for you for this. So this one is my Caput Mortem color that I love so much. I'm gonna start putting these dots. Now these little dots circle in. I don't care if they're exact, but I do care that they go and, you know, kind of follow those rows. George said, your peanut is so realistic. Thank you. It's good peanut. These ones are a little lighter, so I won't push quite as hard. I'm going to come back through, brighten some of this peanut up. Actually, I'll probably start coming through and see how I'm working around those circles. This gives you detail without having to go through and do all of this shading. I'm just circling those circles that I just did. So what happens is some of the darker areas from the layer 1 still show. So now I've got a kind of medium tone, the darkest tone for the center, and now this lighter area I'm putting around it. I'm going to take some white. I'm actually, let's see, do I have one? Yeah, we'll use my Caran d'Ache Luminance White. Let me sharpen that. Where did my cup go? Minel said, you said my name perfectly during Wednesday's live stream. Oh, I don't, and I'll pronounce it differently, like every single time. Oh, hold on, I just lost chat. How did that just happen? I don't even know how to pull it back up. Hold on. I'm gonna have to refresh this. Come on. There we go. I don't know what made that go away. Let's see, where were we? Sal said, first time I've caught a live. I'm in the UK. What time is it over there? Early? It is 1:24 p.m. here. Angie said, you're not alone. I'm all over the place, but I always get it done. I just don't have an audience. Gypsy Heart said, can I use the same paintbrush for colored pencil with OMS that I use for water-soluble graphite? Yeah. Well, no. Well, yes and no. What's going to happen if you clean it really well? So your colored pencil it's not the OMS that's the issue. It's that your colored pencil, pigments or parts of the colored pencil may be on that brush, and you're now mixing a water versus an oil and wax-based pencil. So that may cause issues over time. So can you? Yes. Should you? I'm going to go with no. I would probably be a little bit more cautious about that. Okay. So, oops, broke my tip there. Now, if you're white, if you work on black paper a lot and you just cannot get those whites white enough, one of the things that I cannot recommend enough, it's one of my must-have products with colored pencil. It's a product from Brush and Pencil. You can go to brushandpencil.com to get it. It's the titanium white and texture fixative. You mix those two products together, and you can actually paint white on. It's still archival, unlike people who paint acrylic on top of it. That's not archival. Don't recommend that. Or gel pens and all of those. I don't recommend any of that. But this product is intended for colored pencil, and your work will be archival still, which is pretty amazing. So if I want to get my whites like really bright, that's what I would use. And it's not just for when you're painting on black paper. That's just one huge bonus with it. Okay, so I'm going to leave my peanut alone now, and we're going to go ahead and fill in some of these seeds. I'm just going to start with I should probably sharpen the pencil. This is, again, that raw umber. Jerry Art Illustration said, "Hi Lisa, it's 2:25 a.m. here right now, and the only reason I'm finally able to join this live stream is because I have a deadline right now." Oh my gosh. Para said, "Is standard license enough on stock websites to use images commercially, or extended license required?" So that's an interesting question. I contacted a website because they had multiple licenses. I found this photo that I loved. It was so gorgeous. It was a man and a woman embracing. They were standing in water, and it was beautiful. I wanted to paint it so bad. So I contacted them, like, which license do I need to get? And as it turns out, if you're going to use it for art, it is not the same as just using the original image on a blog post or a commercial thing. It's completely different, and they couldn't even give me a straight answer on how much it was going to cost. But they knew it was going to be more than the $300 or $400 for one image that their base price was. Oh God, was it Shutterstock I contacted? I forget which website it was, but it was insane the amount of money that it would have cost. I'm like, I would be better off paying models and getting my own photo like that, or, a similar photo. That is not practical. So, and especially at the time, because I was definitely doing the starving artist thing at that time. I'm like, I can't even pay my bills. I sure as heck can't spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to paint that. So I do not use stock websites to get reference photos. Don't do it. Pixabay, that's a different license. But the way a lot of those stock reference sites are set up, they are not intended for you to use that work in your art. I did it once on a pair of owls, and I sold that painting, and I paid for it. But I later found out that may not be right, so I never made prints of it or anything. But these come into hold on. This area I need to overlap. The easiest way to make that overlap when you're working in colored pencil, I'm going to take my Faber-Castell Perfection eraser. It's like an ink eraser. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen that because I've got so much pigment on the paper. This isn't really showing up, so I'm just going to erase a little bit where I want the seeds going in front of it. But yeah, it's those licenses aren't really intended for artists. So like websites like wildlifereferencephotos.com, they're intended for artists. That's great. There was a website that I used to use they changed it to Storyblocks. It used to be, what was it? I forget what it used to be, but they changed it. Now it's Storyblocks. I don't like it anymore. I liked what it was. Back when I had my membership with them, I didn't renew it because they changed it to where now they do video, they have all of these things, and now even with your standard license, back then they said you could use artwork for it. Like I did a promo with them at one point. I forget what they were called, but they ended up, I'm taking my purple now, I'm gonna start creating some shadows in between these. But they changed the website a lot, so I don't know if the license changed at all, but they now will charge you more for certain photos. Not all the photos on there are included in your membership, and it's like, yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. So I didn't renew with them, but when they changed the name and changed a bunch of stuff with it, so I don't even know with them. But some websites will say you can. You need to check with the stock site and see what their rules are. Because now keep in mind, this was 7, 8, 9 years ago. I don't know, it was a long time ago. I contacted the one photo I wanted to use. And they couldn't even give me a straight answer on what it would be. Well, we've got to check with this person. We know it'll be more than this and all of these other things. And basically the end gist of it was it's not intended for artwork. Like that's not what our photos are for. So, and they were going to charge up 3 in order to use those. So if they even gave me, because I never even got an answer on whether or not I would be able to. So yeah, no, I don't recommend even bothering with those. Where are we? Now, that's a good question, and one I didn't know. You know what? Let me zoom in on this. I am really far away. That's not what I want to do. Hold on one second. My brain just shut down and nope, that's not it. Stay on that one. Gives, yeah, that's actually pretty accurate on the colors too. I'm impressed. Usually my colors are completely off when I do live streams during the day. Okay, Austin's Art said, what tape do you use to hold up your paintings on an easel? I've been using packing tape. No, don't use that. Some of the layers tear off easily. To hold it up on that, what you want to use is a acid-free or pH neutral tape, and I recommend one that's a masking tape that's acid-free or pH neutral. The one that I use is black. It's wonderful, but I am running low on it and I keep forgetting to order it. Amy said, would you be able to do this on a gray tone paper? Absolutely. Any way to add more contrast? I know the black paper is what adds the contrast. You just want your brights to be really bright, but they're going to be even brighter on that than they would on this. So you are going to get some contrast. One of the things that you can do on yours is make the grays that you're going to get in here, make yours a little bit darker on your, like you can kind of hype up the contrast that way. That's just one. There are many ways. I'm trying to think. God, there's so many different ways you can go about that. But getting the dark areas, so it would be like the gray of your paper, but I would make it a few shades darker so that it makes it pop more. Angie said, you have introduced me to OMS a while ago. I really enjoy the info you share. You sharing your knowledge is priceless, and thank you for being so informative. Thank you. Tallulah said, with the brush and pencil titanium white, should the mixture be quite runny? I think I'm getting it too thick, so it looks really obvious, and the pencil looks translucent if I go over it. Yeah, go thicker then. If it's looking translucent, you know it needs to be thicker. I do it more, it's about the consistency of slightly thinned down acrylic paint for me, or like those apple barrel or those little tubes of paint like that you get, the cheapy ones, the craft paint. It would be about that consistency. Do I ever use Paint My Photo for references? So that I used to. I don't anymore, and I don't really send people to them anymore either. I need black. Because their rules are a bit too strict. Like if you're gonna let me use a reference photo, let me use a reference photo. And they had changed it, and I don't know if they've changed it back. I haven't bothered to look in forever. Oh, new patron. If Naomi is here. If you're watching, thank you, Naomi, for joining Patreon. But if with Paint My Photo, one of their things was you were not allowed to use their work for digital paintings. I've got an issue with that. So it's almost like you're implying digital art isn't art. And I have an issue with that because it is. You're painting. You are still doing the work. So that's not like... So I can use the photo, and then the other rule they added is that you had to contact, or they requested, I don't know if it was a rule, but they said that if you're making a video out of the work, they wanted you to contact the photographer and get permission before. And it was like, you keep putting more rules on these, it's not worth my time. The photos aren't that, some of the photos are amazing. And I've used several in my work, but not in, like, there are better places to get reference photos. Or there are places to get reference photos that have less restrictions, I should say. So, like, I think they wanted if you were making tutorials out of it. Like, they started putting in a lot, and then there was an issue where there were people uploading things they didn't have rights to do. And I'm like, this is just, I mean, not that that can't happen on Pixabay, too. It does. But it was like, yeah, no, not for me anymore. Like, this is... So I stopped using them years ago. It was a great site at the time, but it's like now that we have Pixabay, that's a Pixabay, Unsplash, like we've got these options that are just more practical. And so I just don't, I don't do Paint My Photo anymore. I don't like all the like, here's my photo, but you need to contact me first. I don't have time to contact you and wait for a response if I pick a photo I want to use. Like, I just don't have time. So that is just not an option for me. I loved it years ago, though. Let's see. Hi, Lisa. What do you think about the new 24 luminance colors, especially purples, violets, dark blues? Those are the colors I was most interested in. So it was Art Gear Guide. I was looking at his blog post on it, and he made a great, if you go look up Art Gear Guide, he has a great, I don't know, he probably did a video too. He always does videos. But he did a blog post and has photos of what those colors look like in practice, what it is in the pack. I mean, it was a complete, very good, and he has great, by the way, too. If you are looking for good information on supplies, he is very thorough. I love his stuff. So the Art Gear Guide, he did one and he showed the colors, and there were a couple of pinks I was in. The purple I was really interested in, and one of the blues. Most of them on there, I'm like, this doesn't look that different from the other colors available. So, I mean, I'm going to buy them all, but I'm curious to see how many of them I buy again after that. So I'm going to come through, get some highlights with, let's just do some little dotting on these seeds, get some texture. But yeah, I'm really excited. That purple looks wonderful. And one of the things I loved that the Art Gear Guy had said in his post, he was like, you know, he doesn't look at like the Derwent Lightfast pencils and Caran d'Ache as competing against each other. He looks at it as, we have even more options now. That's awesome. And that's like perfect. That is exactly it too. I love the more competition you get within companies, the better. I mean, look at that. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that the reason they came out with more colors is because of the Derwent Lightfast having better colors, but it sure doesn't hurt. Anything that encourages, because I mean, how long has it been since Caran d'Ache came out with a new color? I don't know that they ever have from the initial ones. So I think that's really cool that we see more competition as artists. That's amazing for us. We get a huge win out of that. And again, just like he was saying, I don't think it's that they're competing so much as we have even more options, like more colors, more everything. So I want them all. So I'm pretty excited. Where were we? Casey said, have you ever had a problem blending with water on Canson? I'm using water-soluble pastel pencils and the paper started to peel and flake where I blended. I don't know if I've ever tried using water on Canson. So I can't say. It would not be my choice for a water-soluble medium. It's too, like, it feels like it would absorb too much paper. It's too soft. So I don't know there. I've never tried it. Hello, Shiny said, have you tried the Pablo pencils? I got them plus the luminance today, finally. Paid $650 for them both. Ouch. I'm very keen to hear if anyone has used them for their water resistant features. So as far as being water resistant, that's pretty much luminance. Any of your wax or oil-based pencils are going to be water resistant. The Pablos are to Caran d'Ache luminance what Prismacolor Very Thins are to Prismacolor. I never liked Very Thins. Even when I used Prismacolor, I was never a fan. They don't work for my techniques. But then I'll see other artists use them and they look amazing and they were perfect for their techniques. So I'm not saying they're bad. They just aren't super amazing for the way I work. I just, the way I layer, they weren't giving me the look that I wanted. However, when I work on sanded paper for final details with Powder Blender, oh my gosh, the Pablos are amazing. I have a few of them and they are I love them for those final details. In that sense, I think they're the best for final details when working with Powder Blender. You're not going to blend with them with Powder Blender because it's too high in wax and oil content, or too high of wax content. Words are hard. So, but yeah, no, they are I really did like them for that. I just haven't, as you said, $650 for the sets for both of those. But that's the reason I haven't gotten them, even for as much as I love them on sanded paper with Powder Blender. Or again, not with Powder Blender, for the final details of Powder Blender. They're so good for that. But for my normal techniques, working on like a hot press watercolor paper, they just weren't a fit for me. I wasn't like huge. They were a little too waxy for the way that I work. But again, I don't want to discourage you on that. They're an excellent product. And there are so many artists who use them and get amazing results because they work for their techniques. Let's see. I'm calling you Vinny because I'm not going to pronounce that right. I apologize. I'm terrible. Said, hello, quick question. Don't think too much. If you had to choose only one colored pencil line, which one would it be? Oh, that's just mean. Why would you do that to me? I would be I could happily work with any of these brands if it was the only one I could use. My Derwent Lightfast could happily work with just those. My Caran d'Ache Luminance could happily work with just those. My Faber-Castell Polychromos could happily work with just those. Any of those I could work with just fine. If that was my only pencil I could ever use again, I would be fine with any of those options. I can't say which one. I'm leaning towards the Derwent Lightfast or the Polychromos. Between those would probably be my highest two because of how much detail I can get with, like tiny detail with how they sharpen. And then when you break it down between those two, the Faber-Castell Polychromos, they're going to sharpen to an even finer point. They're going to be more translucent, whereas the Derwent Lightfast is a little bit close. They, to me, feel in practice, they're labeled as an oil-based pencil. To me, in practice, they feel somewhere in between your traditional oil and wax-based. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. They blend beautifully. You can actually get detail just fine with them too. I mean, they're just a nice pencil. So yeah, I'd have a hard time choosing between those two. Those would probably be my top two, but Caran d'Ache Luminance is also one that I could work just with that and be perfectly happy too. That is not the answer you're looking for, but pretty much any of those brands, you're not going to be unhappy with them. Like, you cannot go wrong. Okay, I'm going to leave that. I may come back and do some more. Actually, I would kind of like a little bit more yellow, but I want a more opaque yellow. Let's see. Derwent Lightfast, what do you have for me in terms of yellows? You're pretty yellow. Let's pull you in there. Speaking of, so this one is mustard. Just give me a little bit in there. Kind of gives it a greenish tone on the black. There we go. Just find a little bit of variation there. Gypsy Heart said, wait, there's new luminance when? I don't know if they must be out. If the Art Gear Guide has them, they must be available. I haven't looked. Let's see. Whoa, that just jumped. Hold on. Where were we? Hello Shiny said the new Luminance Dark Indigo is supposed to be amazing, like super, super dark blue, almost black. Ooh, I'm excited. Wow. When you get goosebumps over art supplies, I'm not normal. I'm sure all of you guys can relate though. Casey said, in addition, you Unsplash and Pixabay, do you also use Pexels? I've never gone to that website. I've never even looked. I probably should. I bet a few people suggest it, and I've never looked at them. Okay, I don't need this right behind me. So now we're going to start with the fuzziness back in this area. Now I'm going to pull my fuzziness all the way to this line. I'm going to do my little details sticking out over the black on the outside of this, which will make this guy a bit larger than what you're seeing on that general circle. So we can start, I'm going to go with a lighter gray, and this lighter gray is going to look almost white when I put it down, but when I go back through later with white, it'll be more obvious that there's a difference there. So the one that I grabbed here is Cold Gray 2. And we want to get that nice and sharp. Okay. One of the things too, I think when choosing which pencil you want, are you moving, like if I were to do portraits, more portraits, Luminance would be my choice. The way they blend for skin tones is just wonderful. If I'm doing more animal work where I've got the little fur and doing a lot of hair and that sort of thing, then I would lean towards Luminance or Lightfast. But you can do either subject with either pencil. You're really not very limited. You know what would make this easier? Let's do the white centers first where these are going to go, and then I'll do the gray around it. So these, I'm not pushing really hard. These are going to just blur out into the background. I can come back and make better dots later if I need them to be more defined. Get some bigger ones up here. We can get those in there. We can do lots of layers, so this isn't something where you have to be perfect the first layer. You do kind of go in rows, so let's stop making polka dots there, Elisa, and make some rows. this whole area gets kind of light, so we'll not do too much there. So, interesting fact, no one would have noticed if I didn't point it out. This area is just this area copied and flipped over in Photoshop and put here so that I could have it round all the way around. Let's see, where were we? Lori said, hi Lisa, so sharpening tip. I don't recommend sharpening pencils under a ceiling fan that's on high all over my shirt. Oh my gosh. Casey said, did you remember to use the paint puck when washing your brushes? I did not. I have paint. My paint puck is actually in this with my OMS. It doesn't need to be there, but I put it in there to see how it would handle with OMS. It's been in there for like 2 years. No problem with paint thinner. But no, I did not. I did not. I need to. Shelly said, hi Lisa, joining late today, but excited to see this drawing. Thanks. Me too. I mean, I didn't join late, but I'm excited to see the drawing. Jason said, Lisa, the tingling is the shock to the body for how much money we are going to spend on art supplies. Yes. Oh my gosh, you are so right. We got some bigger guys out here. Okay, I'm going to push a little bit harder on the centers of these, and then I will come around them with the gray. Just a little. The thing when you're doing anything where it's like nature, whether it be animals, plants, trees, whatever, variation. There's a very big, that is a big deal. We don't just want this round polka dot. Oh, that could give you actually a cool look. That would actually give you a very cool stylized look. But when we're trying to make it look realistic, variation between the white to the gray. Like, it's not just one thing. There's just variation in everything. And so you want to watch that on your reference photos. I remember years ago, there's one of these days I'll share that book when I find it. It's one of my favorites. This artist, I don't even remember who the artist is. He's phenomenal, and he does super realistic wildlife, and the backgrounds look really realistic. He's not somebody who, I wonder if I could find him on Instagram actually, now that I think about it. He's not this book I bought 25 years ago. So he's a more well-established artist with that. But he wrote this book, and he showed photos of how he drew like a wolf's eye, and he'd show the detail around the fur, the detail of deer standing in grass, and how he made the grass look like the light was coming through and hitting the tops of it. And it was amazing. And I remember looking at that going, I just don't get it. I can't do that. That's too much. You know why? Because I was rushing. I still do that half the time, but at least I know why it's happening. But rushing through things with that grass, I wanted to go through and go bam, 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 the grass is done. No, that grass probably took him weeks. Like, you have to take your time and really break it up. Look at the details in that photo. If you do what I wanted, just a couple brush strokes, it's done. Yeah, and it looks like a cartoon. It doesn't look realistic. When you get it to where it looks realistic, there's going to be this variation, this shift in values, a shift in color, where it fades from one to the next. It's not just, oh, that grass is green, just paint it green. No, there were probably 5, 6, 7 different colors in that grass, if not more, when you combine, make them mix. And it was amazing. And I just remember looking at that going, I'll never be able to do that. Well, not with that attitude, huh? But it was just breaking it down and getting the variation in there makes a huge difference in making your work look realistic. Paul said, hi, Lisa, am I on time? I mean, 48 minutes ago? Yes. Heather said, I am impatiently waiting for the USPS to deliver my latest set of light pass today. Ooh. I don't even have the new light pass. They were supposed to send them to me. I haven't gotten those yet. Jason said, did you enhance the light on the photo reference? I enhanced a lot on the photo reference, a lot. Because the background on mine was just your normal green grass. And I darkened it in Lightroom, darkened it a lot, and did the high contrast between that. I did a lot to that photo. So yes, I changed everything. Let's see. Do you give lessons somewhere? I would love to learn colored pencil from the basics with you. I used to. I don't anymore. I just do everything online and with Patreon. I just don't have time now. I wish I could, but it's just not possible at this point. Actually, I want to see. I think I can get a softer look. I'm going to switch to my OMS, and you don't have to at this point. Just keep layering. if you don't have OMS. Where is the brush? It's right in front of my face. Okay, I'm gonna just a little bit of OMS. I'm gonna go around the edge of this, and it'll make it look darker, like it disappears. It will dry more opaque again. I just want to get a slightly softer look there. Yeah, the problem with teaching in person, and I did it for over 20 years, I loved it, but, and I do miss working with students firsthand, or, in person, but the problem was, it's like, I can teach a class with up to 10 people max was as much as I could do, and give everyone the attention that they wanted. But that same amount of time, I can do a video and reach thousands, help thousands of people, and that seemed to be just a better fit. Okay, now I'm going to go around those with a darker gray. And also we have this green in here, this very muted greenish gray. So let's see what I've got. What colors do I want to use? Check my light fast. Let's see. Molly said, "Hi Lisa, take your time is the best advice. Thank you." Yeah, I wish I had learned that years and years before. It was such a hard thing for me to really understand. Oh, throwing stuff all over. Yes, they have a greenish gray that I want in the light fast colors. This one is seaweed. Sounds like something I would name it. And we've got that. Let's grab this color. This one is the Mars Violet. It's kind of a grayish color. And that's out of the Derwent Light Fast. Don't worry, if you don't have the same colors, same pencils as me, go for close. You do not need to be exact at all. Let's see. Casey said, "Will OMS and water have the same effect on paper?" Depends on how much you use. The OMS, I use such a small amount. If I were to use water, I would use a much, not water on this, but let's say I was using a watercolor pencil. I would use so much more water that is what would really affect the paper. But if you were to use a crap ton of OMS, it can start to warp the paper. You'd have to use so much. And usually when you work with OMS, you don't use very much. So you're not, because of that, you're not really going to see the same result. As far as how it affects the paper. Shelley said, I got a shot of a large dandelion on a bike ride yesterday and enhanced it with filters. I want to draw it, so the timing of this is perfect. Nice. Jason said, Lisa, you could give lessons in the backyard for cleaning out of the rocks and landscaping services. Yeah, right? My lesson would be handing everyone a pickaxe and showing them what to do and letting them get it. That's a good idea. I could get my yard done. I haven't been pulling rocks. Oops, that's not the one I want. Let's sharpen the green. I haven't been pulling the rocks lately. It's just too hot out there. I do need to start replanting some stuff because we've reached the point of the summer where some areas are a bit too... I'm surprised my petunias are still going strong, but they'll fade soon. They're more of a cold weather thing. But I've got to... this is going to have lights on top. But I'm just kind of making these streaky little lines here for where the stem is going to go. I need a lighter green. Yeah, today I have to go to the hardware store anyway to get some wood stain. The tables for my tree frogs should be here today. So what do I want to use? That one might work. Let's try the foliage. That might be lighter. So I've got to go get wood stain at the hardware store, but I think I'm going to pick up some perennials or annuals out. I've got a few areas that need to be replaced where the flowers didn't make it. And I've got dry, dead spots I need to work on today. Okay, much better. So this one is the foliage. See, okay, so here's what just happened right now is something that I think is really helpful. Oh, new patron. What? Welcome, Rebecca, if you're watching. But if you're... So one of the things that artists have a tendency to think, especially if you're new, you think that every other artist that's doing something that you admire, you think they automatically always know what to do. They always know which pencil to grab. And if you only knew which color, that would make a difference. I didn't know which color. I tried one that I thought would look good, but it didn't. On white paper, it probably would have been the right color, but on this, it didn't show up. So I made a few brush strokes or pencil strokes, thought, not giving me the results I want, put it down, grab another one, tried that, and it worked. We don't know the answer. You don't know the answer. There's no magic. Don't wait until you magically know the answer. Try it. Experiment. When something doesn't look how you want it to, put that pencil down and try another one. There's no, you're not hurting anything. There's no reason that you should have to have everything be exact. Or, very, like that first color I put down kind of looks cool. Wasn't what I was really looking for, but it worked. But don't get that out of your head. Here's with white, we'll lighten some of this up. I need more opaque white. Get out of your head this idea that you have to know the answer before you hit the paper. You don't. You're not going to. You're going to experiment. And when something doesn't look right, you're going to put it down and you're going to try something else. Pull that in between the seeds. One second. I apparently missed a bunch of questions here. Paul said, Caran d'Ache actually makes aquarelle pencils, water pencils like Faber-Castell. Are they light fast though? Some of them. They tell you what the light fast ratings are, but one of the things that I still haven't, I don't know how that's affected by water. Obviously, use distilled water is going to be your best bet, but to avoid any yellowing or any, there's all kinds of crap in our tap water, so don't use tap water. But I don't know, a lot of the brands I know, Derwent couldn't tell us with Inktense what happens once water's added, if that makes a difference. I wanted to do some tests and I just never got around to it, and I need to, some samples to see what happens. But they have light fast ratings, but those light fast ratings are for when the pencil is dry. A lot of them were light fast as far as what their ratings, the dry pencil was. I want to say that the Faber-Castells were more light fast. I'd need to look at the paperwork again. Correct me, I could be wrong. But one of the big differences between the Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils and the Faber-Castell are more like actual watercolor where they're very, very translucent. The Caran d'Ache are more opaque like gouache, which is hilarious because Caran d'Ache claims they're more like watercolor than gouache. I'm like, wow, because my first thought when I read that after I tried them, my first thought was, this is awesome because I feel like I'm using a gouache pencil versus a watercolor pencil. Gouache is just opaque watercolor, which I liked because I've got Derwent, I've got Caran d'Ache, and I've got Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. Different is good. I was glad for that. But yeah, they claim that it's more translucent, just like what? No, it's not. I don't know what they were smoking when they wrote that, but it is not. It is not. So, yeah, they do have the light fast ratings, but again, those light fast ratings are for when they're dry. We don't know when we add water if that's going to shift. Hello, Shiny said, did you paint the teal mural? And is it a wave? It is not. I did. It's branches. So the room in here is a pale gray, almost white. And I didn't want to go really, really dark, but I also don't like white behind the easel. It didn't photograph well. It just didn't look good when I posted stuff on Instagram and such. So I need a darker gray. So I ended up painting this, well, it's a combination of gray, dark, almost like a charcoal gray, and teal. I blended those together. And then at the top, I wanted it to make it so it faded into the white of the rest of the room. It's posted on Instagram. There was a video I recently posted, and you can see it on that from last week. And it's branches. So it's supposed to be like the white is kind of the edge, the fluff of the tree, and it just fades. That same wall color I had fade down into the branches in addition to an aqua color branch. So it makes it blend a little bit more into that wall. I don't love the top, but I really like the edges. What you're seeing there, I really like how that came out. But it's tree branches and leaves. Simple tree branches and leaves. Say said, hi Lisa, with all these brands you mentioned, Caran d'Ache, Faber-Castell, Derwent, what do the Holbein colored pencil offer that are unique or noteworthy? Oh, they offer some very unique and noteworthy things. One, they offer you paying an insane amount of money for a mediocre a pencil that is no better than Polychromos or anything else. You're paying that insane amount of money for a pencil that you cannot buy individually. You cannot replace and get, so let's say there's a color in it, you just love that color. Well, you better hope you never run out because you're going to have to spend another $350 or more to get a whole new set because they aren't legal to sell here in the U.S. So they didn't do the testing for whether or not it's toxic. So you can't buy them individually. So you're paying an insane amount of money for a pencil that you cannot replace without replacing all of them for another insane amount of money. It's pointless. It is if I can't buy a pencil open stock, I have no use for that pencil. None. That I don't even want to like it because I can't replace it. That's stupid. The colors that I've seen, and I've not used them myself, but somebody who I know of who is a phenomenal, one of the best colored pencil artists I know of. I don't want to throw her name out there and have her, you know, because I don't know if she wants this part out there, but she used them. She goes, they performance-wise, pretty much the same as Polychromos. So the people who are like, they're the best. She's like, they're the same. They perform very much the same. Anyway, she goes, they are not better. And then here's the other thing. The color, if you look at their colors, it's mostly pastels. It's a whole lot of almost the same color. Again, paying an insane amount of money. And I don't, like, as far as whether or not it's toxic, so here, let's sharpen both these grays. I pulled out a gray number 4 and the cold gray 4 and a Payne's gray. As far as the being toxic or not, I paint in oils. Oils have, you know, there's some toxic stuff there. I know that, and I know to be cautious because I know what's in the paints that I'm using. Like if I use a zinc white, I know there's lead in that. So I know to use certain common sense, certain precautions. Well, if your pencils you can't tell me if they're toxic or not, like, no, just no. So, and again, it's not that I'm opposed to using a product that is not, nope, that's gonna be too dark. See, again, just try something. If it works, it works. If not, there we go. So I'm gonna lighten, I'm just gonna go around lightening up some of these areas, but no, they're not worth the money. And I see videos and stuff, the best pencil ever. Oh, you're adorable, but no. So you know, those facts alone, being crazy overpriced because they're not being sold from Holbein. And I'm not anti-Holbein. I have their airbrush paint. Like I like their products, but not their pencils because you can't buy them open stock. Now, if that changes, and you can get them open stock, I will be definitely doing a review and I will be one of the first to go buy them. But that's a huge issue. The fact that the ones that are sold here are not being sold here legally. You're not going to see them at like Dick Blick or Jerry's. You see them from third-party sellers on Amazon or eBay. That is not okay. I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to go around the edge here. So I'm lightening up the black that's behind it. Not everywhere. I want some of the black to really show through well. So no, I don't recommend buying. I don't see, there is no benefit I can see to those pencils at this point. None. Now, if I like as many pencils as possible. So if they were available here, if I knew that they were not toxic, if I knew what their light fast ratings, like at this point, I'm like, do I trust your light fast ratings? They did light fast testing. Do I trust it if you can't even be troubled to do the toxic rate? Like what's going on here? So, and I know it's very expensive, but it's like you can make so much money selling those pencils here legally. Why aren't you? What are you not telling us that you've not made the effort to get that taken care of? I think somebody told me they were planning on selling here eventually. I don't know if that's changed yet. I haven't heard anything. You guys can let me know. But as of right now, no, I would never spend the money. And I honestly think anyone who does, I'm not gonna lie, I judge you. I think you're hilarious. I think that was a really funny purchase. It's kind of like the people, like people who are into plants, like buying the pink Congo. So it's a plant that will not stay pink. They use chemicals to make it that color. So it's kind of like that where I'm like, and you're paying also hundreds of dollars for that, like overpaying for a plant that would otherwise be not very expensive. And that's what's happening right now with Holbein. I don't think it's worth it at all. I mean, I'm sorry if you're one of the people who spent the money on them, but no. Let's see. Here's where half the thumbs down come in because somebody spent them and then they're mad because they wasted their money on something they probably didn't need to spend the money on. I'm not saying they're not good pencils. I'm saying it's not worth it. Not worth the price. There we go. Not right now anyway. Where were we? Amy said, oh my God, you have tree frogs. Not yet. I miss my White's tree frog. They were named Cheech and Chong. I had a Australian White's tree frog for 12 years. His name was Rib. His last name was Bit. He was adorable. I have not had one in a very long time though. That was years ago. I'm gonna go ahead and blend this out with OMS. Or just kind of soften that out. But so now what I'm doing is setting up a vivarium. So this will be a bioactive, like all natural. It's a big setup. So I'm having another company, or the reptile place near us, they're setting up the tank for me. So I told them, like, the plants are just about as important to me as the frogs. So that, like, I want the nice vivarium. They're going to go in my living room. So I'm really excited. So the tables are coming today. I needed to make sure I had tables that could hold the weight of the vivarium. I'm getting 2 tables just so I have one on either side of the TV stand so it's like balanced, but I'm only getting the one vivarium on the one side. I think I'm going to put another bio orb on the other table. But yeah, I'm getting red-eyed tree frogs. Why do they need tables? Because I don't want to put the vivarium on the floor. Sarah said, I see where you're going with that, but that's why. Sarah said, thank you for the amazing videos. I've learned a lot from you so far. Oh, thanks. Jason said, oh, I told my parents about nuggets, chickens, and trying to name the tree frog legs and got shut down. Boy, they laughed a lot. Am I being judged for chicken and nugget? Chicken and nugget are good enough, but not frog legs, I know. Sarah said, I got these and they work amazing with water. Nice. I just got these. Angie said, trial and error, the best lesson. Absolutely. And that's how I've learned everything. I'm not taught. I didn't take lessons. I mean, I read a few books and you get some tips and you're like, let me go try that. Everything is trial and error. That is how you learn. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to take in-person. You don't have to do any of those. The more you are willing to make mistakes, the more you are willing to do the trial and error, the faster you are going to learn. Say said, Reason, your whole mind observation. Thank you so much for noting what you were talking about there. That helps. Well, you just saved me over $350. Thank you. You're welcome. Good. So even if I make a bunch of people mad who already bought them, I am glad I just saved you the $350. And I hope they do come to the US. I will buy them. I mean, even though they're already pastels, they're things that I'm like, maybe not the best in the world color-wise. I still will buy them, but not until I can buy them open stock. Because what happens when you have that one color, like you go through any one of my pencils and there's certain colors, my white, whatever, that are little because I go through them really fast. If I can't buy them individually, what are you going to do? What was the point then? Alma said, because we all know you're not using all of the colors equally. Alma said, I bought Derwent pastel pencil set and I don't know the best paper for it. Can you help me? So I don't use pastels. I take that back. I use pan pastels, but that's it. Regular pastels freak me out how they feel on my hand because I'm a crazy person. So I love the look of pastels. So congratulations on that. But I don't know what the best paper is. Probably the Canson Mi-Teintes would be a good option. But if somebody else who is a pastel artist wants to leave comments on what you would recommend for pastel, the best paper for pastels, please do so. I just don't know because I don't use them. Jason Morgan and Unmasked Art, Will Stoller with Unmasked Art, those two have channels here on YouTube and they both use pastels a lot. So I would definitely check them out. And I know Jason does a lot of reviews on different products that he likes. So that would be helpful for you. Paula said, I joined an art group on Facebook and one member posts an elitist attitude saying, you're a true artist if you know what color to use. Since I'm a Lachri, I said it's false, Lachriite. That is funny. I'm sure that started a drama, but you are absolutely right. And that's the thing, the people who do that, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to white and we're going to start putting it, actually, some of these stems, I'll do white and then I'm going to do greenish yellow on top of a few of these stems. Now, part of the reason there's so much green inside that photo, it's just how I edited it because there was green in the background. But on black paper, that wouldn't necessarily be that green. White would be suitable. Hello Shiny said the best paper for pastel is Pastel Mat. I know I love Pastel Mat for colored pencils. I can vouch for it there. Okay, so let's start getting these brighter whites in. So we'll start with some of the stems and I'll make a few of them coming out of the seeds. You should have your pencil be pretty sharp, like mine is kind of, well, because it chipped on one side. I've got to watch which. It's not enough that I want to waste the sharpening on it. Not the time, but I don't want to waste the pencil part. But I do need to watch because one side is kind of flat. So it's giving me a rough, bumpy look that I don't want. So there are the ones up front. And let's make a few. I'm going to switch to my gray. That's the light gray. This one is my cold gray number 2. I'm going to put some of the distance. And why am I not just using white? Because I want variation there. I want it to look like it's further back. And one of the ways you can do that is to use a darker color. So these are just kind of in the background. Now I'm going to sharpen that Caran d'Ache. Go ahead and sharpen because it is not going to give me the brightest results. with being flat on one side because I chipped it. There we go. So now we'll come through the tops, and we can come back through and add more as needed. We can brighten up a few of these. Pushing a bit harder here. We'll start making the little guys come out now. So it's almost like a little U shape, little guys sticking out. Some of these will stick out to the side, some won't. We're gonna get some variation in there. I need to make these stems come out further. Now these should also have a bright white little center. So that may be an easier way to start. Let's put the centers where we want some of these, and then we can come out from there. Yeah, that's way easier. And we're gonna overlap quite a few of these. So like right now as I'm putting these, they're not super close together. I can go back and add more, no big deal. Marika said, so I understand putting a water-based product on top of a wax or oil-based causes archival issues. Then I wonder, could you, for example, use white oil paint for details on colored pencil? So technically, yes, but the oil paint's not going to play real nice with paper that's not gessoed. So that's going to be an issue. So, I mean, yes, but you might have issues with the paper and the oil being on top of just ungessoed paper. Unless you're using gessoed paper, then you should be fine. Like, and then you're dealing with the oil paint not wanting to dry right away. Whereas if I use the Touch Up Texture titanium white mixture, it dries, I say quick, but I mean, you typically want to let it dry. It dries to the touch within like a minute, but then you want to let it really set for like 20 minutes before you put color on top. The oil paint, that's going to take a lot longer to dry. So, and the oils can stain the paper. So let's say I put a little oil dot on here that can spread, soak, and I have a dark area where the oil was because the oil just kind of keeps spreading, that I wouldn't recommend it. It's a good question, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, one of the things you can do to sharpen pencils, like this pencil's still sharp enough to write with, not sharp enough to stab someone's eye out with. We want sharp enough to stab someone's eye out with. So what I can do is take these blocks you get of sanded paper, and if you just have regular sanded paper, that works too. But I'm going to tear that off just because it has a dark color that is not what I want. I'm going to roll that on there and get back to that nice sharp point without wasting the entirety of that lead. And now I've got this really nice sharp pencil. It's a funny story. I use that example all the time. It's sharp enough to stab someone's eye out with. When I was a freshman in high school. So that's a stage where everything in life is superficial and you don't want to be embarrassed in front of your friends and that whole thing. My sister is a jerk, and she calls my name. We were watching TV, and she says, "Lisa, look." And I look, and that is the moment the pencil she threw at my head hits me in the eyeball. She hit my pupil. The doctor was impressed with her aim, but I had to wear a patch on my eye for 3 days because of the damage she caused. That's how sharp you want your pencil. God, she was a jerk. I mean, she's still with us. She's just less of a jerk. She was 4 years younger, and yeah. And I can go again on my sanded paper where it starts to get dull a little bit. So why am I using the Luminance here versus the Derwent Drawing Chinese White or the Faber-Castell or any of the other brands? Because this one is going to be, this is my second most opaque white that I have. My most opaque is Derwent Drawing, but the Derwent Drawing, it's too thick and I want little teeny details. So this is a good balance of, I can get it sharp enough, but it's also opaque wide enough to really show up for me. Paul said, "Oh, really? That happened to one of my artwork before. That oil stain spreading on the paper was messy." Yeah, and I've even had that honestly happen with colored pencils with OMS, just the OMS itself. When I used and this was the reason I knew why. I used way too much OMS, and it was on the tan. Was it tan? It was a colored Stonehenge. I remember Stonehenge because Spongehenge, that's what Alan Woolett calls it, which is an accurate description. Really squishy. But it was on that, and it spread like crazy. But I was trying a different brush with OMS. I was just experimenting to see how that would go, and it did go everywhere. The oil stain, I put pencil over everything, so it was no big deal, and it's fine because it's, it didn't affect the end result. But let's say I wanted to leave the tan of the paper showing through. I couldn't because the oil was everywhere. Like, that stain was pretty bad. And then Fine Art Studio said, "You are making me thankful I was an only child. I was pretty lonely, but at least I kept my eyes safe." See, there you go. I always loved when my sister spent the night at her friend's house. Oh my gosh, I loved it. So you know how you have, like, your sibling, well, maybe you wouldn't know, but your siblings, or maybe you had a friend and your mom was like, "I really don't like when you hang out with that person and you get in trouble all the time." My sister was that friend to everybody else. My sister was the friend no one's mom was like, and it's not like my mom let her get away with stuff. My mom knew the crap my sister was pulling, but you couldn't stop her from doing it. She was just a troublemaker. I'm getting a little too small in those. Let's pull those out a bit more. Yeah, she would steal my stuff. I had to have, when I lived with my parents, as teenagers, we couldn't use a normal bedroom lock. We had to put a heavy duty lock that she couldn't pick to keep her out of my room, because she kept breaking into my room and stealing my clothes, my jewelry. And I mean, I didn't have expensive jewelry, but she would steal stuff. My CDs, she kept stealing my CDs and selling them. So, and my parents made me have a job for whatever reason. They didn't make her hold one down when she was old enough. So she was stealing all of my stuff and selling it. She was something. I think they still have that lock on that door, which is kind of funny if anyone stays in that room. Like, why would you need this heavy duty lock on that? Christy is why. Christy. So I'm just going to work my way in now, and I can make a few of these come out a little bit farther. We want to get variation again. So we don't want it perfectly smooth all the way around. We want some of these to stick out farther. Mrs. Bates said, "Any plans to add a few loose floating seeds at the end?" There is, actually. I was just thinking about that. We've got to add a few floating away for sure. Yes. George said, "I feel like if I used anything but colored pencil on a colored pencil artwork, such as pastel for a background, that would need to call a mixed media piece." Is that right? That is correct. Anything other than your pencil is mixed media. Now, I have seen where people are like, "Well, what about your initial outline is with graphite? Isn't that mixed media?" No, because I'm covering it all. Like, it's not really the same. But yeah, anything else you use pastels, you're not mixed media. I'm working right now on a piece that's water-soluble graphite with watercolor pencils. That is a mixed media. Even though they both work the same, it's mixed media. Let's see. Jason said, "Lisa, my art teacher in high school used a pencil to hold something and a rubber band, and it shot into his eye and he lost it." Oh my God. And lost it. Wow. Holy crap. That is terrible. So I'm not going to push as hard. We've got some little guys as we start coming in here now. Now what we built up on that soft background will start coming together. Make a few little, oh, there's a fly in here again. I've never lived somewhere, I don't know if it's because of the new build, because they do have porta potties in some areas. I don't know if that's it. There's a field of cows nearby us. It could be that. Oh my gosh, the flies at this place. And I always pick up after the dogs. As soon as they go, I pick it up. I'd have to, even if I wasn't neurotic, I would have to, because Wade will eat it if you miss any. But he's a classy boy. But my gosh, we get a lot of flies. Like, it's an ongoing battle with these things. If you have tips, let me know how you keep flies away. I mean, besides hunting them down with fly swatters, which I'm getting quite skilled at. The other thing I want to point out here, these are not all perfectly straight. You want to have them slightly curved, which goes back to giving you that natural feel. Very little in nature, whether it be animal fur, trees, even the tree trunks, branches, grass, very little is going to be perfectly straight. When you do man-made things like fences, buildings, you're going to have perfectly straight then. But when you're doing nature, almost everything should be at least slightly curved. Subtle, but still curved. Kosher Artwork said, is Caran d'Ache Pablo available open stock in the US? I have the 120, and if you were running low, yes, I bought mine either from Jerry's or Dick Blick. I don't remember which one. Pat said, my sister was the same, sold all my albums. Ugh, so frustrating. It's so weird to me because I was so the opposite. Like, it wouldn't cross my mind to take something from somebody else. I would feel sad. Like, I would cry that they lost something they enjoyed. Like, that seemed like the saddest thing in the world. And my sister was the exact opposite. Didn't care. I would catch her. Like, I'd be missing a shirt. I remember I had this like velvety tank top that I really liked. I had two in two different colors. One of them was missing. I asked her if she had it. She said no. Didn't take long before the picture of her wearing it was up on her wall. Like, her jewelry, she was wearing, my friend had given me a bracelet. It was like a hemp bracelet. It wasn't anything expensive, but it was mine that a friend had given me. And I went in her room to say something to her at night. She was in bed and her arm was out on her blanket. I'm like, Christy, is that my bracelet? She pulled it under her blanket really fast. No. And it's like, she's such a liar. Oh my God, she lied a lot. I'm assuming that's not the same for her, but as a kid, oh man, she never told the truth. Okay, so I'm going to start brightening these up a little bit. So I'm going to make these a bit more dense and start crisscrossing back and forth a bit more. Make some a little bit longer too. Start again, get that variation in there. Get a few of these sticking out. Let's see. Thanks, Kyan. Casey said, turns out the details I do right side up look awful, but the ones I do upside down look great. Oh, that's funny. Jason said, Lisa, I am the oldest of 7, and my brother would steal my comics and trace in them. Oh no. My sister would borrow clothes and wear them to school, and boy was I upset when I saw them for sale. Oh no. Fine Art Studio said, try posting a sign by your door that says, no flies allowed. I don't think that's going to work. Here in Florida, we have the same problem. I think it's because we were surrounded by water. Still, I have no idea. Yeah, we do have creeks and stuff, not super nearby. I don't know. Let's see. Fem said, try putting some real apple cider vinegar in something disposable like a foil pan, cover tightly with cling wrap, poke holes in the wrap. Fruit flies will fly right in, but can't get out. Interesting. We don't have fruit flies, though. Ours are, I don't know, I call them poop flies. I don't really see too much with fruit flies. But I think that would work for both, wouldn't it? If I could keep it away from the dogs. That works only with fruit flies. There you go. The holes would have to be huge for regular flies. Gotcha. Andrea said, get lots more tree frogs and let them have the run of the house to control the flies. Lacey said, flies don't like mint, basil, or lavender plants. I don't have any of those either. I don't know if lavender does well here in Texas. Okay, I want to get my color saturation a little bit brighter in here. Now that I can see this, I want this brighter. So actually, I do need my drawing pencil. Be right back. I need to grab that. Nice, Gibson. You comfy? Oh, he flopped over. He's a good boy. Oh, okay. I'm going to sharpen this as much as I can, but remember when you're using these, that long point is going to be more prone to breaking because it's the part of what makes it so opaque. It's a very soft leaded pencil. Let's see. Art of Kyan said, how do you draw realistic animals? I mainly do portraits and I'm wanting to learn to draw animals as well. Same, it's the same thing. You copy what you see. There's nothing different really. It's copy what you see. Oops, there we go. Knew that was going to happen. I'm pushing pretty hard though to get that to really show. I'm kind of dotting in areas so that it's not just one solid mass. And Actually, hold on. Let me just bring those over here. I don't know why I left them. I've got some colors that I think will work well for the seeds out of the Derwent drawing that are really opaque. So we've got yellow ochre and brown ochre. These are pencils I really would like. I so wish that that Derwent would make these in more colors because they're so nice. They blend so well. I'm just gonna kind of dot these, make those seeds stand out a bit more. Now, so what happens is once we got the white in here, it made it very obvious that my contrast needed to be a bit higher here. I needed to lighten this up. It looked like it was light enough when it was only against the dark of the paper, but once you get the other colors in, you can see, oh, I need to make some brighter colors in there. Pull a little bit in there on the peanut. That's better. Now that shows up a lot better. Let's also, while we're at it, get the green stem in. I'm not going to go super, like anything crazy on that. We're just going to block that in. So I use the foliage, and then I'm going to use the seaweed, so a darker green, grayish green, brownish green. Break that up, just kind of this wiggle line there. I'm going to go on top for a little bit of highlighting with that same Derwent drawing. That what color was that? Yellow ochre. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to blend. I'm going to leave that stem how it is. Fem said, ooh, get a lizard or a chameleon. Bet they'd love some flies. I don't think they could eat as many as we get. Like, there's so many. Louise said, what is your favorite paper to use for Polychromos pencils? Mi-Teintes or something else? For Polychromos, I would say Mi-Teintes is good, but I would say my favorite is probably the Arches hot press watercolor paper. Like a hot press watercolor paper is generally my favorite, but Arches is my favorite of those. Okay, so let's get some seeds going out there. I'm going to make that stand out really well, but this one is the brown ochre. Whoa, that shows up. See, this, I wish they would make more colors. Derwent, we want more drawing pencils. And all of the Derwent drawing pencils, completely light fast too. They're amazing. I love them. Heck, let's put some in here too. That's nice. I like it. Maybe one out this way. Now we're going to do our little stem. Again, curved. You don't want those straight lines. Paul said, I tried watercolor on Fabriano cold press. I think I just found my new favorite. I haven't tried watercolor on cold press yet. And oh no, that's not true. I have in sketchbooks, but like I haven't tried a serious project. I need to get good watercolors. I have my pencils, which I love, but I need like watercolors. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our little, we've got our center. So we'll do that little dot. And then do the little guys sticking out. And the fun thing with something like this, you can make these little stems go wherever you want. You can make a little word. You can really have fun with the way they float. They'll go everywhere. You can put them wherever you want that you think would look nice in your piece. I love using them on surreal work for that reason. You can, like if you just feel like you need an extra something in an area or you screwed something up, put a dandelion seed there. It's wonderful. A little bit more opaque. A little bit of highlight on the seed there. Oh my God, I have blocked True Green so many times and they keep finding you new numbers to call me on. I'm going to cancel I haven't used them in months. Like I just keep, they're like, well, we'll keep your account, but we'll postpone it. Okay, but I don't want you guys anymore. I will do everything myself so I know what's actually being used on my yard because I have no idea what you're using. But I mean, you can get some of the information online, but I'm not comfortable with it. So anyway, they won't stop calling me. And I need to call them and tell them cancel my account altogether because I'm sick of having to block you. Like, and I don't want to have to block somebody who I have an account with, but Yeah, that is, I am done with them. And even if I wanted to use a lawn service like that, oh, there's local ones that I would rather go with. I am done with that. And I've told, like, they used to call, and I told them, stop calling me for sales. Like, I will call you if I want something. They're like, okay, they were really cool about it. I'm like, okay, we'll take you off. And the calls did stop. And then for some reason, about a month ago, they started up again. And I've told them multiple times, stop calling for this. And they won't. They're nice. They're like, yeah, no problem. We'll get you taken off. It'll take a couple weeks. But no, so it's probably been 2 months. It's just been nonstop. And I keep blocking the number. And then I get a new True Green. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are driving me crazy. And this is why I'm canceling. Well, that I actually don't want your services. Let's see. Derwent has, whoop, that just scrolled. Derwent have lots of stuff here in the UK. Colored pencils, paint, charcoal, graphite. Do they have paint? I mean, I know they have Inktense. They're more of a pencil company, aren't they? Fem said, I mean, they're located in the UK, so that makes sense that they've got lots there. I love Derwent. Fem said, try the Sennelier watercolors. Blake has their aquarelle, not Peat aquarelle. Those are student grade. In an 8-pan set, very glowy colors and great for glazing. Ooh. Casey said, I wish you could see me frantically erasing the peanut, trying to make it smaller, but ended up with it being the same size. Vin said, I read an article saying that the light fast of Derwent drawing are very doubtable. Well, I've used them multiple... All the words are broken in my face. I've used them multiple times and I've never seen anything fade. Now, again, I've been using them for a few years, so that only says so much. But here's the thing. One of the reasons that they are so light fast, and this is why I would question the article, one of the reasons did they do, what tests did they do? So, okay, let's back that up even more. There are colored pencil groups that will test the pencils themselves. The way they test that is to stick it in the sun and see what happens. That is a very inaccurate way to, and then they eyeball, oh, I think it's a number 5. I think this is a number 4. That doesn't account for how much sun versus overcast days you had. It doesn't account for anything. To do an actual light fast test takes a machine that can rate it, that can do all of that. This is not an eyeballing, yeah, I think it looks like a number 5 because I left it in the sun for this many days. That's not how you test light fast. Like, there's a very scientific way to do it that is a very expensive way to do it. I personally trust Derwent far more than somebody who wrote an article who stuck it in a window, oh, it faded a little bit too soon. Okay, that's not the same. So, in the thing with the Derwent drawing, maybe I'll find out I'm wrong in the future, and if I ever do, I would let you know. But the thing is, with the Derwent drawing pencils too, all of the colors they're using are colors that tend to be light fast anyway. Even in Prismacolor, which half of are not light fast. These are not colors that are... like, they're all very muted, very colors that typically are light fast. Colors like pinks and purples, like bold colors, reds, those have a tendency to not to be light fast. There are none of those colors in this set. So I would doubt the article you read. I'm going to call bull, honestly. And I see this in different colored pencil groups who are like, well, our test showed... Your test was in a warehouse where the windows were broken out of, and some people who were... I don't know what their eyesight, how that is, sat there and went, I think that's a number 5. I think it's a number 4. I think you're not testing accurately and you're misleading people. So there you go. Sorry, side rant there. I don't take those seriously because I know how it's supposed to be done. The testing that's done properly is done with a certain machine, so things are going to be much more accurate. And when they're like, well, I don't think this company is super accurate on some of the colors. Why? They use the same machine on that as everything else. If they did use that machine. Now, let's back that up some. You have other companies who claim they're doing light fast testing, and I don't think they are at all. Newer companies that I've ranted about before, I don't trust them. So now those ones I'd actually be kind of more curious on what their results were on, like how that compared. But it's, yeah. Let's see. Where were we? And let's back that up even more. I'm mostly done with this. So, we'll back that up even more. There was an article I read on graphite, and graphite tints are, most of those I think are supposed to be pretty light fast. Again, when dry, we don't know when water is added. We don't know what those results are because they didn't test for that. So I don't even know how you test for that because it would depend on how much water, how much pigment, all of that. There was a guy who wrote an article or a blog post or something I had read, and he claimed that the graphite tint faded when not exposed to light. He had them in a folder or whatever. They weren't exposed to light and they faded. then that's not an issue of light fast. That's something else altogether. So I have some questions. 1, was the paper you used archival? What paper did you use? 2, did you leave it in the heat of your car? Or who, you know, I don't know what conditions you stored this in. 3, what water did you use? How much you want to bet this guy used tap water and they say, oh, they're not light fast because the tap water made it fade. It's not an issue of light fast if it wasn't exposed to light and it faded. That's something else. So what was the factor that caused that to happen? Yet you're saying, because initially I kind of believed it too. And then you start thinking about it, you're like, wait a minute, think this through, which is not something people like to do in these days. Think it through. Why would it fade when not exposed to light? There's another factor going on here. Now, and he said it faded like less than a year, 6 months or 6 weeks. It was some crazy like short time. So I've done several graphite tints. None of mine have been exposed to light at all. None of them have faded at all either. So whatever caused his to fade, and I've used all the colors, he had there was something else going on there. So there's that. Keep that in mind when you read different articles where someone's like, this isn't light fast, this is faded. How did you test it and what did you use? I'm on a mood today with my rants, aren't I? Let's see. Abdul said, how do you make realistic still life of any kind? Like any other art, you're going to look at so you want to get a good reference photo, or if you're working from life, that's fine too. You need something to look at and you want to copy what you see. That's really what art when you're working in realism, that's what it boils. What are you doing, Wade? Get your head out of there. Wait. I don't know why you're digging in your bed, but let's not. He flops back over. So funny. But you want to copy what you see. When you're working in realism, that is what you're doing, whether it be in life or a photograph of the still life. Copy what you see, and that's really what it is. And practice. That's one of the things too. I see people, they'll read books, they'll watch videos, they don't practice. I was thinking about this the other night. So Wade, my greyhound Wade, I have Wade and Gibson. Gibson's a flipping genius. This dog figures things out so quick. You don't even have to make the effort to teach him. He accidentally figures things out, like the ringing the doors on the back, or bells on the back door to go out. We're done with the drawing, by the way. But to ring the bells on the door to go out. He knows to let me know when he has to go, so I don't have to worry about him going in the house. He'll let me know when he needs to go out. Wade and Gibson he touched it one day, and every time he'd touch it on accident, we'd open the door. Within 3 days, he was doing it consistently when he wanted out. He's excellent with this. Wade never figured that out. Wade doesn't figure stuff out. Sweetest boy. Well, they're both sweet boys, but Wade is so sweet. Oh, dear God, is that dog dumb. And it can be frustrating when you're trying to teach a dog who just isn't understanding what you're trying to teach him. And so I've been walking him, and I prefer just to walk with Gibson. Gibson loves his walks. He thinks it's the most fun in the world, and he walks so nicely on his lead next to me. Wade pulls the whole time. I'm having to use a head halter, which is, it's so that he doesn't, because I don't want him strangling himself. So we're using that. I'm working with him, and the improvement on this dog over the last few weeks is huge. But and I'm going somewhere with this. This does come back to art. If I read all the books on training, if I watch everything I can think of on how to get the dog to stop pulling and panicking when he gets nervous, because that's really a lot of his behavior when walking. He's very nervous right now. He's just not comfortable going on walks yet. So where Gibson is a much more confident dog. So with Wade, it doesn't matter how much I read. It doesn't matter how much I have to practice with him. I have to get him out there on that leash, even though it's annoying, even though it's not fun in the beginning trying to teach him. And he constantly walks into my leg, so he's tripping me nonstop. So, it's not a fun walk, especially in the beginning. But it's like what a lot of people do with dogs, and a lot of people do this with art. This is annoying. This isn't a fun stage. I'm just not going to walk him anymore. I'm just not going to practice the work because it doesn't look super realistic right now. Okay, it will never improve. Him walking on a leash isn't just going to magically change. We have to practice. Same with art. You have to practice. It's not going to improve if you do not practice. So when you're whatever it is, animals, still life, portraits, it's not going to look good in the beginning. You're going to have a dog walking into your legs, stepping on your flip-flop, and having you almost fall on your face multiple times during the walk. Yes, you. But that's going to happen with art. You're going to have these stages that are ugly. They're not going to look good. You have to work through it. You have to practice. You're not going to find an answer that's like, this is how you do still life. Here's the tip. Here's the trick. You're going to practice. He's shedding. He still has that winter coat on his neck, and apparently it's super scratchy. Okay, wait. Let's not scratch a hole through your neck. Wait. Hey. He's completely ignoring me. Typical sight hound. He's a What? You can't see his face right now. He's hilarious. But anyway, the practice is the big thing with art. You're going to go through these ugly stages, and no one's going to give you an answer that's suddenly going to make your work look realistic. You have to draw and draw and draw and keep. Figure out too. Here's another thing. What's going wrong? What is same thing when walking? When I try one method with him where he's not getting what I'm trying to teach him, I have to do something else. That doesn't work. Don't keep doing the same thing if it's not working and there's no improvement. You have to figure out a different way to communicate with the dog. Not one method is going to work for every dog. And it's the same thing with your art. Not that whatever method you're using, if it's not working for you, you need to try something else. But that practice, that continuously practicing and trying something else, that's how you're going to improve. You can watch every video, you can read every book, but if you're not getting to that drawing board, getting to your easel, that's what's going to make the difference. That was really long. Again, what is with me and my rants today? I was just thinking about that though when I was walking him. I'm like, this is so like people who are beginning with art, because a lot of people will give up. They don't want to go through the ugly stage, or in this case, the stage of your dog is tripping you and continuously walks into your leg and on your flip-flops, and you think everyone's going to die because of it. So it's so similar. People don't want to work through that, and a lot of people with their dogs, the dog ends up, they're like, I'm not walking you then because you're not good. That's on you, not the dog. Train the dog. Like, what? You didn't train him. So anyway, let's see. Where are we? Let's scroll back up. That just jumped. Oh my gosh, I'm missing a whole bunch of questions here. Hold on, here we go. Amy said, have you ever tried vellum technique where you scrape out the details for a hair with a ceramic knife? Just curious. Now, I've not used it on vellum, but I have done that with colored pencil. I have one somewhere. I don't know where mine is because I don't use it that often. That works really well, but in order for it to work, you want to make sure the pencil is on there really, really thick. And I like it better if, let's say the hair is going to be lighter, like it's a light brown. I want to put a dark base, and then that pencil on top, so when I scrape it, the dark shows through. Or you can do the reverse. I'm going to put a white pencil, several layers of that, and then the brown on top of that, so when I scrape it, the white shows through. I don't find it works really, really well when you're using OMS, because the OMS completely stains the paper. It soaks into it, so you're not having the white of the paper exposed. It works best if you've got a base layer of one, like dark, either way darker or way lighter than the color on top, then the color on top, and then scrape the color on top, exposing the one underneath. It does work really well. You've got to get that pencil on fairly thick. I find it works better with my wax-based pencils, like Caran d'Ache, than it does my oil-based pencils. Paul said, surrealism is very hard. Your painting where dolphins diving in grasses is genius. It needs more thinking to make surreal non-existent exist. Yeah, I love surreal stuff. And just think of like one of the easiest things you can do when you're trying to come up with a surreal painting. And I've told this, I wrote about this in the last email newsletter. Get a cup, get your mason jar. This would work. Take a bunch of little pieces of paper and write different things on it. Tree, landscape, snow, succulent, sleeping greyhound, I don't know, list out a bunch of things, an octopus, a spoon, a fork, whatever, list them all out, stick them in there, pull 3 of those things out and make a painting work with those 3 things. Figure out how to combine those. It's a kind of a fun exercise in coming up with surreal ideas when you can't think of anything. Heather said, look at Da Vinci watercolor paints. They are great, layer well, and there's even an earth-friendly palette by Denise Sodden, aka In Liquid Color. Ooh, that sounds cool. Paul said, I can attest to that. I'm a civil engineer who tests materials like concrete, gravel, etc. I'm familiar with ASTM testing, and they are reliable and standard, not only in art. Exactly. ASTM, Blue Wool Scale, this isn't just for art supplies. It's used across the board for all kinds of materials. Sarah said, how can I edit my pictures? I have a terrible time taking pictures of my drawings. Yellow is especially tricky. Always end up with oversaturated pictures. So I take pictures, I'll take it in multiple settings with different light sources. I take them with a DSLR camera. I use a Canon 6D, and the lens I use is, I forget right now, maybe Nick can tell, I forget. Nick has the same camera setup I do. Or mostly the same. So I take a photo with that, and then I import the raw file. So I take the photos raw, import it into Lightroom. Lightroom, you can change just, let's say your yellows are too saturated. You can tone down just the yellows and not the other colors. Or if I take a photo and it photographs, it's really teal, but it's photographing more blue, I can adjust it and make just the blues closer to teal. There's a lot you can do. So Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom is how I edit it to make it look as much like the original as possible. Jessica said, when I was about 13, me and my younger brother had an argument. Then he went into my room while I was downstairs and tore up my artwork and my WWE posters. I was livid. Oh, man. See, I've never had that, like, even when I'm mad at somebody, I can't hurt them. That, like, hurts them. I never could do it. My sister could. I can't do it. I just couldn't. No matter how mad I was at her, I couldn't get her back. Like, I couldn't do the same thing. It doesn't make sense to me. Rapaka said, I never use distilled water in my watercolor art. Is it super expensive, and where do you get it from? Do you also use it for rinsing your brushes? I don't use it for rinsing my brushes, except if I'm using watercolor, because I'm sticking with that. But you get it at the normal grocery store. With all the other water, it's a jug. Usually you get a gallon for like 99 cents or less, 75 cents. It's not very expensive, and you don't need a whole lot of it. So it's not super expensive to use. I use it I recommend it, I should say. I don't always use it. I would recommend it if you're going, you really care that your work lasts, in any water-soluble medium like where pencils and such. So water-soluble graphite, watercolor pencils, Inktense pencils, anything like that, I would definitely use it in. I don't use it for my acrylics. I never had a problem with that, but I would recommend it on water-soluble pencils and such, and watercolor. Let's see. Whoever asked how to draw still life mentioned that there is a book called How to Draw What You See. It worked well for me. There you go. I would look that up. I've not seen that book, but if it worked for it, I'm going with your recommendation. Michael said, fly traps or you might need Venus flytraps at your house. Maybe. Those are cool. Whoops, that just scrolled too far. Hold on. Where are we? Nick said, let's see. Owl's Eyes asked, when we are done and we post this, how do you want us to tag you? Yeah, please tag me. It depends on which medium, where it is. You can tag me on Facebook. My art page would work. Oh, it's lachri.fine.art is the URL, but if you just look up Lachri Fine Art. On Instagram, it's Lisa_Lachri. But yeah, please do share. Mostly I want you to tag me because I want to see what you did. Let's see. Charlotte said, Lisa, why are you starting drawing in front of the flower and not in the back, all the fluffy, whatever it's called? Sorry, I am Danish. I did? No, okay, no, backing up. So yeah, I started with the peanut here just because it made it easier. One of the things that happens when you're doing something that's somewhat out of focus is it won't look good until you get the thing that's in focus there. So I thought it'd be easier for today just to do the reverse. We'll put that here. And we didn't need the out of focus part to really come too far up against the seeds. So it just worked for us. You could do it either way though. Either would be, you're going to get the same result, honestly, either order. Thanks, DL Art. Nancy said, please consider doing a surreal. It's been 3 months. Oh, has it? Or a still life video with a subject out of your comfort zone. So no fish. Well, I've got my plans. I'm doing the sea turtle now. I'm doing another sea turtle after that. After that, let's go with something surreal. Yeah. I don't know what it will be, but let's try to, I need to think of something. Still life I've not done in a really long time, and I actually really enjoy still. I like grapes. I love painting grapes, and cherries are like my favorites. I haven't painted cherries, and I want to paint cherries because I want them on my own wall. That may need to happen. Let's see. And I can't remember the lens I'm using. I forget which one. It's half the time I use my 50 millimeter. But more often than not, I honestly use my bigger lens, and I can't remember what it is. It's my, you know what? I think I actually bought that on Amazon before I realized I should not be buying electronics on Amazon. Let's see. Let's go to my orders. It was a Canon. There it is. It is a, nope, that's not it. No, that was the macro lens. Nope, that's my zoom lens. Did it come with that? I'll tell you right now. Okay, it's my EF 24 to 105 millimeter image stabilization lens. That's the one that I'm using. It's Canon. Now, the something to keep in mind. the lens that I'm using, the camera that I'm using, it's a full frame body. It lets in more, like it takes better photos in low light than your average because of it being full frame. So it costs a little bit more, so worth it when photographing my art. So I can go, one of the problems that we have when we photograph art, especially, like this one wouldn't be too big of a problem, but let's say something with black paint. I've got a tiger on the wall I need to get good photos of still. Those are very hard to photograph if you're in a light enough room to get a good photo because the reflection and the glare. But because of that lens does so well in lower light, I can move it into an area that's a little bit darker and the glare wouldn't be quite as harsh. And then of course come into Lightroom and make the adjustments there. So I really like that setup. Heather said, I took a picture you can use for grapes. They are huge and so colorful. Ooh, send it to me. Casey said, would love a couple of reference photos of Venus flytraps if you could find any for Patreon. Next time I go to the nursery, I'll see if they have any. I'll start keeping my eye. I've never kept one, so I'm gonna have to research how you actually keep, like how do you feed, do you have to feed it if there are no flies around? Do I just like find a dead fly that I smacked with a fly swatter and drop it in his mouth? I don't know. So I'm gonna have to do some research because I wanna make sure I can keep them alive. I've never really looked into them. I don't know what kind of light source they need. I have no idea. Oh, now you guys want a surreal piece with a Venus flytrap. That would be out of my comfort zone because I'm not super familiar with them. I'll see if I can find a photo, but I'll have to, I don't know when the next time I go to the nursery is, but I will start keeping my eye out for that. Lori said, great way to spend an afternoon with you. And rant away, girl. Thanks for another great lesson. Yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. This is fun. I love these little quick projects. I really like them when they're in between the bigger, more detailed projects. So like the sea turtle I'm working on right now, he's pretty detailed. I just started on the shading of the background last night. I didn't even get that far. I'll get a lot further tonight. But like he's very detailed. The one I'm going to do after that, again, very detailed. So having these in between, I've really been enjoying this. And this is something I can recommend to you. If you're somebody who works in tons of detail, you do these projects that take weeks or months to finish, tons and tons of detail, do these little quickie guys in between. Do they look as good as your detailed stuff? No, of course not. But they're fun. It's just kind of like this relaxing way. There's no stress. You're just having fun with the art supplies. And it helps me anyway to not be too like, you get burnt out. You just do. When you do too much detail for too many days in a row, you get to where you're like, oh, I don't want to do another piece like that. If I do these in between, I can do those other detailed pieces without feeling that burnout. So it works really well for me. Paul said, yes, I'm in with surreal art. Okay, I guess we need another surreal. That's funny because surreal art's my favorite. I haven't been doing it lately as much. I also want to do another digital painting. I've not done one of those in a really long time. Long time. Say said, what is your longest hiatus you had in the past year or two from creating art, even sketching, and why? Did it help you? What did you learn from it? Would you recommend breaks? So it's different for me because it's my job. I can't take a break. So the longest in the last year, a weekend, because when I went to Chicago for Aquashella, I didn't draw the whole time there. So it was for the weekend. But I mean, I don't take more than sometimes a day or two just because I'm working on the editing of a video versus the actual creating of the art. But I don't really take breaks unless like when I go to my mom's, usually, well, not now. Normally I go to my mom's once a year. I haven't been in a couple of years. But when I go out to California, I don't bring my art supplies. Well, no, I bring my tablet. So sometimes I actually do get frustrated with not drawing and I'll do a digital drawing. But I don't take breaks. And if you take a break, I wouldn't recommend taking it for too long. It's too easy to get out of the habit of something. And when you get out of the habit, like me and violin's a great example. I have not played violin in over a year for sure. It's probably been closer to a year and a half, 2 years. I'm so out of practice and I know it's going to suck when I pick it up. It's going to sound like a cat is being murdered horribly. It's not going to be a pretty sound because I have not practiced in so long. And art can kind of be the same thing. You just haven't practiced. You'll get it back. It's not like it won't come back to you. But I think getting out of the habit isn't the best way to go. Take a few days off, absolutely. But I wouldn't go too long. If you're serious about it, don't go too long. And for me, it is a little bit different because it's my job. So I can't just take time off work. I recently took, and it wasn't even the full week I took off. It was just a few days. So that didn't even count. I don't take long breaks off. I don't think that they're necessary. In the past, I had taken longer just because I got distracted and was working on the band when I used to be in a band. I don't know. I deal with depression. Like I would feel depressed more often when I wasn't drawing then like the breaks just they weren't healthy for me. They were not a healthy thing for me. So I don't necessarily recommend it, but it's hard for me to like tell you what's going to be a fit for you because it is my job. So I don't get the option just to not do it. Thanks, Austin's Art. Leah said Venus flytraps are indigenous here and NC. Really? I really want the plant that there's two plants I want. I want another monstera. I have a little baby one that's kind of a wannabe monstera. I would like to get a bigger one. I'm waiting for those of you who are plant people. I guess the Thai constellations are supposed to be out in like actual nurseries. They're working on that right now. So I want to get one of those next year. I really want a lady slipper. I forget the technical name. It starts with a P, I think. Orchid. I don't have one of those. Apparently I need a Venus flytrap now. So those are kind of on my like things to look out for. Yeah, and I did used to take breaks from art before YouTube. Oh, lots of little sky chickens at the bird feeder. I used to take breaks after Christmas because Christmas was always the time between me getting my own Christmas gifts done for people because I didn't have the money to buy anything. So I did paintings or drawings for everybody, getting that done, and then any commissions. That was always the time of year I had commissions. So it was like I would be so burnt out, and I would be working all through Christmas Eve to finish up. Usually I was finishing up my own family, like my mother-in-law's for the next day, their gifts. And I would be so like, I don't want to paint or draw anything again. And I would usually take a week or two but I was in the band at the time, so I was focusing more on the band during that. But yeah, it's a little different. Rebecca said, that's the same with me and my cello. I can't even concentrate on everything. I haven't played it for 1.5 years now, so you're going to sound as bad as I do. No, that's not true. Cello doesn't make that high-pitched, murderous, cat being murdered sound. Cat, goat. It's bad. It's just bad. That high pitch with a violin. My God, you hit that wrong note and it's like, oh, I wish I did not have ears right now. I do need to work on that. Let's see. Wow, they're both laying like normal dogs right now. It's weird. We've got 5 more minutes if you guys have any questions you want to go back over. Nick said, pink lady slippers are indigenous here, highly protected. Really? They may not be the same because the one that I want is an orchid and it's from a tropical area and you live in the North Pole. So those aren't going to be quite the same. Yeah, definitely not the same as what I'm thinking. Mine are the ones, hold on. I can look up right now what the actual, what is this? Apparently Vimeo sent me an email in error. Here we go. I can never remember the actual name of this one. It is oh geez. That's not the other way I know. Cypridin, I can't say that. That's the scientific name. What do we have? Ah, there we go. Paphiopedilum. PAFs. I call them PAFs. That's what it was. Those are what I'm looking for that I don't know if you can see on the phone. Hold on. They're really pretty. Can you see that? Does that show up? I don't know if that shows up. You can kind of see. I mean, that's just one of the flowers, but I've never tried to grow one of those. I've got Insidiums, I've got the Insidiums. I've got Phalaenopsis. I've got, I forget what the one's Cattleya, something. I don't know. I've got some other things over in the terrarium, but I've not tried one of those. Heather said, also sent the pic via email. Thank you. Julia Rex said, so true, took a break a while. I was moving earlier this year and it was extremely hard to get back into art. Even when I really wanted to paint, I found it hard to get to the easel. And moving makes it even worse. One of the problems that I had, there are a lot of chickens out in that, or sky chickens. Whoa, I don't even know what those kinds are. Are those brown-headed cowbirds? Huh, I don't know, there's a lot of them. They're all like going insane on my crepe myrtles. But you care, I know. When we moved, I had such a hard time wanting to get to the easel because you're just busy unpacking everything. You're absolutely exhausted. And then the studio didn't look how I wanted it to. Like, it just wasn't comfortable in here yet. That took me a really long time to want to, I mean, I had to do it, but I didn't want to. Andrea said, were your dogs hyper in the house when you first got them? And if so, how did you ever calm them? They look so lazy now. No, they get in their moods. Like Wade is still, Wade is obsessed with his toys. So he'll go through phases usually in the evenings. He goes through and pulls all the toys one by one out of his toy box, and he'll move them from one bed, and then he'll take the toys that were previously in that bed and move them to the other bed, and he trots as he does it. It's so funny. Gibson has a few toys that he likes. He doesn't like the ones that squeak, so he doesn't play as much. He's been getting more hyper, even with the walks lately and running in the backyard. He's been getting way more, I think because it's too hot for him, so he's not doing anything all day long. But he'll have his moments where he gets hyper, or if guests come over, he jumps all over people, really. Like, that's a hard one with him. Wade doesn't do that. With Wade, I just have to put his collar on and hold him so he doesn't hurt anybody until he calms down, and then we can let him go visit. But no, greyhounds are lazy. They're known as 45-mile-per-hour couch potatoes. This is pretty much what life with a greyhound is like. Other than when food time is coming, with Gibson, when he knows it's about walk time, he starts bugging me about 2 hours before. He'll keep going over to his collar, showing me where it's hanging, like non-stop. Like he wants to go on that walk. So cute. Gibson's a little funnier too, because now that he's getting more, I think he's just worked up from because he can't run during the day. It's too hot, so he rarely will. He'll just run at night when it's dark, but he's just not getting as much energy out in those it's always small spurt that greyhounds want. It's not the nonstop all day long like some dogs will do. But his new thing, he's been walking around and not biting me hard. It's like these little nibbles. He'll nibble my arm, and he'll nibble, like I'll be walking, he's nibbling at me, or he'll grab onto my arm and try to pull me towards his leash or wherever he wants me to go. So he's been getting more and more, again, just because he's not having his small spurts throughout the day with it being so hot. But Wade I take them out, good example, take them out to go to the bathroom for their first time out in the morning, and in most dogs, you let them out in the morning and they've really got to go. They've been holding it all night. They go and pass out in the grass. They'll be out there for hours before I can finally get them up to go. Like they're so lazy. And that's just a greyhound thing. Like I said, Gibson will get more playful, but it's small spurts. It's not very often. Most of the time, they're just laying down somewhere, being calm good boys. Let's see. Casey said, I'm not quite ready to get OMS. I'm not quite ready to get OMS. I've already started my quota. However, I was wondering, can you still create good pencil work without it? Yes, plenty of people do. It's going to be a difference in the way that you layer. You're going to layer a lot more and probably do more burnishing towards the end of your layers. Don't burnish too soon, meaning burnishing is when you push really hard on the pencil and you jam it into the tooth of the paper, which gives you this nice smooth look. But what happens, because you're jamming it into the tooth of the paper, you're flattening the tooth of the paper, which means you can't get many additional layers on top of that. So I keep burnishing towards end layers if you're going to use that method. But yeah, no, you can create beautiful work without OMS. Tons of people do. I can't do that often anymore because the arthritis in my wrist just doesn't allow for me to put that much pressure. But you absolutely can. More layering, basically. Say said, I remember reading or hearing you have reaction to terpenoid versus OMS, but are the two equal in terms of blending, burnishing, and etc.? I don't know because I don't use terpenoid. I never allowed my students to, because as soon as it comes into the classroom, they open the lid and it's like, and now I want to die. So I'm not sure if the results are the same. I've never given it a chance because I couldn't tolerate the smell. So I can't say for certain it should, in theory, it should be the same, but I don't personally have experience with it. Other than, oh my gosh, put the lid back on that and never bring it back. Paul said, thank you for this session, Lisa. See you next live stream. Yes, next live stream Wednesday, we'll be working again on koala fur. Casey said, following along with you today, and it was bad, but I think I know now what not to do. I'll retry, and hopefully this time it will look minimally realistic. Oh, good. I'm curious to see what you thought looked bad, though. Post that in one of our art groups so we can take a look. I'm really curious. Or post your before, your first try and after try. I'd love to see that. Okay, 3:02, we are done for the day. They don't care. I was going to say, and the boys want to go out. They don't care. If I leave the room, though, that's when they get up. They follow me everywhere. I kind of miss going to the bathroom with the door closed. They shove it open and stick their heads in and look at me. I'm like, well, this is lovely. So, that's the main thing. They'll follow me, but whatever room I'm in, as soon as they think I'm going to sit still, they both hit the floor real quick. Well, not the floor, but their beds. They're like, we're going to lay down now. Like they don't have the energy to keep being up. As soon as I stop in one room, they're laying down. So I've got beds everywhere for them. Funny boys. Anyway, thank you guys for joining. Make sure to check out our moderators channels. Nick and Joseph both have channels here on YouTube. Great art channels. Links are in the description. You should definitely subscribe. Tell them thank you. They help so much. Thank you guys for joining. If you've drawn this, please share it with me. I would love to see how yours came out. Post on whatever in social media, tag me, post in our art group, whatever. We've got MeWe and we have our Facebook groups. Links are in the description, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.